Yes, I'm a week late, and it is entirely my fault that I decided to listen to so many albums in the past year, but the video is finally here, and obviously with that many contenders, I couldn't quite narrow the year's worth of music down to a top 50, so let's quickly run through some honorable mentions first.
Father is a betting man, but I got myself a steady hand.
Even if this EP is only 5 tracks long, Zach Bryan's songwriting and tunes have enough emotional bombast for well over an hour. This man couldn't make a bad song if he tried. If this really is a bunch of leftovers like alleged, then I need to check out Sun is Poison, because this seemingly ordinary indie rock project released on New Year's was beating out competition for an entire year. Average track length have been decreasing ever since TikTok blew up, and I feel like most of us can agree that the decline is a bad thing, but if there was one example of using the PowerPoint song structures for the better, it would be Super Snooper. Red Veil's influence on the game has been slowly but surely rising, and the faster we get this guy to the mainstream, the better, because he put out one of the most fun and energetic hip-hop records of the year. Paramore continues to be one of the most solid acts in the game, with performances that remain as great as ever while still sounding fresh. I've said my piece on Luke Combs again and again, and I'll keep saying it every time he scores another hit. In the mainstream country scene, his formula and production is unmatched. No, this won't be the last time you see Bocchi on this list, but even looking past the small bias, I still think this is great. If any of you were thinking my love for this anime was in any way insincere, trust me, it's not. This album is definitely the type of slow burn that requires multiple listens, but in the end, it's probably the most mature album on this list. Only half of the reason this live album is here is because the original songs are amazing, because many of the stunning qualities are given new light by the live atmosphere. Great stuff. Album of the Year's critic scores are pretty useless if you ask me, but if there's one thing they get right, it's the death metal, because this album is one of the most engaging I've heard all year. This still reminds me of Caro Caro Bonito, and I'm still not willing to elaborate. You'll realize while watching this list I'm more interested in music that's fun to listen to, but I need to pay my respects to this album, which is the most I've been genuinely terrified in 2023. And with this final honorable mention, Depeche Mode once again proved they're one of a kind, with a record that's depressing while at the same time heartwarming. And just like that, we're on to the proper list of the top 50 best albums of 2023. It's like I want to say that Dessa isn't the easiest artist to get on board with, but how could you not appreciate her talent across so many genres and styles? And that's what she does here as well, taking her amazing songwriting and some experimentation into synth pop, trap, rock, R&B, and more. It's not her best, but I guess it's pretty hard not to like this. You could probably understand why I had trouble getting into post-punk, so I'm pretty damn glad that Proto-Martyr opened my eyes to the genre, not by being overly accessible, but simply by sounding really good, with the rawness of the bleak soundscapes and themes that's not only captivating but also pretty hard-hitting. Hopefully by now, post-punk is another genre I can put under my belt.
I just keep it in between. Everything is fucking meant to be, but at least
Politics are absolutely not my thing, and even if I can mostly pick up on the criticisms here, there's still a big part of the picture I'm not quite picking up. But in this case, I don't really care because Ron Gallo is still kind enough to present his opinions through unusual production and passion at 2 times as both half serious and groovy fun, enough to keep the album worth returning to, even for me. That's pretty impressive. Since I don't have the most to say about this one, maybe it's time to specify that records released late into December 2022 do indeed qualify here. And I'm fine with that because this EP brings more beautiful shoegaze onto the list, and I'll take as much as I can get. And yes, the listen is a long winding road, but it's all for the build-ups, and the climaxes are goddamn powerful. Yes, it's a very disappointing step down from Answer Up There, but even if none of the best moments can carry over following the leave of Isaac Wood, the journeys to those moments definitely do. And it's because of that we can truly appreciate how talented this group is, because this album is extremely potent stuff, plain and simple.
Placing his faith in the strength of the safety visor.
Apparently there's a very important piece that I'm missing due to not paying the most attention to this band, but just from surface level listening, I can tell that the Mountain Goats have been putting out great record after great record for decades now, and this one is in no way an exception. One thing you need to be wary of on Album of the Year is users hive-minding mediocre artists just because they're underground or something like that. But this artist has been the clear exception this past year. Just from looking at the genres, atmospheric drum and bass and dream pop is a masterclass combination, and there was no doubt in my mind that Turquoise Death could pull it off. Man, am I glad the website put me onto this. This unfortunately will be the highest ranking ambient album here, but it's clear why this was my choice for best album of 2023 without lyrics. The most annoying part of ambient music is how damn long it takes to get anywhere, but with Graham Brothers' faster paced piano lines, the echoing cavernous production is much more effective at painting a picture, and therefore I actually feel pretty moved. And of course, we have what's possibly the most mind-blowing musical experience of the year. I respect it more than I actually enjoy it, but you absolutely do not want to miss out on this one because it's out of this world. I'm a little disappointed in myself for only now realizing the greatness of Ashley McBryde, because her taking contemporary country to its fullest potential and being incredibly solid all the way down got her into the top 50 instead of Luke Combs. For the past 4 years, she's been the person I see in the charts occasionally, but now I'm a bit worried that we won't get to see more of her in the mainstream.
I can't be your love. Too many things to lose.
And here's my nomination for the Horny Warny Award of 2023, because not only is it, well, horny, but it's also damn effective at it, and it's all thanks to Amaarae herself. The normally annoying baby voice is properly utilized to play into all the catchier cuts, the more intimate cuts, the more anthemic cuts, all of them. She's been blowing up in popularity, and wow, does she deserve it. No, I am not backing down on this one. Post Malone is one of the nicest and most genuine pop stars in the game, and every bit of that kindness carries over into his music. It's nice to see him explore his inner feelings on his most personal album to date, and it's simply a very well-made pop album. Honestly, we could replace all of pop radio with just this. It's like I don't want to admit this is as great as it is, but being the only music nerd in existence that doesn't even use headphones half the time, this was made for me, because the biggest gripe people have with this album is some production issue that you need high grade gear to even notice. And you think this late into their career, the band could no longer stick the landing, but the hooks are all great and this packs some serious punch. Now this is taking heaviness to the absolute extreme, because I cannot listen to this without getting a headache no matter how low the volume is. Every single note from every instrument is like a nuclear bomb. It's like if you pack enough energy into one project to make a black hole. I really do not want to listen to this again, but that first experience alone scores a spot here. And now I'm definitely missing something, because the fans considered it to be one of the band's weakest releases, but the exotic summer vibes here are incredibly effective. The psychedelia is a near perfect musical personification of a tropical island, and I can't find a single weak spot anywhere on the track list. So yes, I really do think this is amazing. Apparently this is a pro-LGBTQ protest, which I can't really understand because grindcore vocals are indiscernible to my ears, but if I could comprehend them, man would this slay, because the power levels here are ruthless, and they shove over 30 different artists into a 30-minute project, because they're not giving you time to think for your own. It's like you're being force-fed, and the ferocity sure is powerful. Tesseract are here to take you on a journey like you've never seen before, or maybe you have seen them because you're familiar with Gent unlike me, but forget about that. There are so many eyebrow raising moments on this thing, but they always culminate into something otherworldly. What an experience. Yeah, if there's one metal release this year I would consider pop, it would be this one, but I'm having it on the list anyway. If you can look past the boring song structures, chord progressions, and all the other surface level bland elements, you'd probably still hate it. So this is my guilty pleasure of the year. The annoying thing about this one is that the vocals are so goddamn eccentric that hearing any song from here outside of the album context sounds like trash, at least at first. But within the album, the riffs and hooks are super crazy. It's like if an album needed an epilepsy warning, because the energy is so wild that it manifests in the actual light and shoots everywhere. It's insane. No, this isn't their strongest record ever, but the thing about this band is that they have unlimited amounts of energies, and anything they put out is guaranteed to be a fun time. So you can imagine that taking on thrash metal is a formula for success, no questions asked. The thing I've noticed about death metal is that it's one of the more popular metal subgenres, and that there's always one thing I don't like about it. The vocals are so low pitched that they just sound like goofy growling to me. But the vocals here must be half an octave higher or something, because I actually enjoy them. And then when you throw in some of beautifully integrated keyboards into the mix, you've got the best death metal album of the year. I was obviously hoping for the best when a long-acclaimed shoegaze group was returning, and I was not disappointed. The stunning dream pop atmospheres make you ascend, and there's no rush either because the stretched out song structures graciously invite you into a world of glitter.
Some things don't ever get old, like hanging with your buddies when the beer's ice cold. Honky tonk band.
That moment when I first heard his voice, I thought to myself that this might be great, and then the synth had me instantly hooked. And it's weird because this feels so ordinary to me, like it shouldn't be anything special, but it really is that remarkable. And speaking of unremarkable albums on the surface, why is this one as good as it is? I have no words for it. I'm actually left speechless. And for the third record in a row, we have a seemingly normal album, but then, oh god, is this so much more than I was expecting. I was caught off guard when this thing suddenly dragged me down to hell with some of the most disturbingly vile screams I've heard all year, struggling not to drown in a mushy swamp of pain and agony. Like, I am shook down to the core from this. Maybe I need to see a therapist now. Oh no, album of the year is fawning over another random indie act that will quickly fade off in a day or two. But wait a minute, this is actually a pretty insightful record, and that is the quality that I was surprised by, because I needed no warning that Underscores would have no shortage of creative ideas, spanning from the obviously fun indie rock to some glitchier noise and some atypical sampling. I could tell that the production would be wild, and while it is a pleasant surprise that it sounds as great as it is, it's when you dig just a tiny bit deeper and realize how much the record has to say. There is so much happening that bubbles underneath the surface that the realization of it all is chilling. Now, who would have guessed that this is as great as it is? Two of the most innovative artists in hip-hop teaming up to blow us out of the water, and that's exactly what this album is. This is taking sampling in hip-hop to the next level. The creativity here is off the charts. The biggest reason why this is so good though is how accessible it is. I've seen so many people online increase their score for this over time, being a little unsure of it at first, then comfortably naming it one of the best of the year. Peggy and Danny went far into uncharted territory, like always, and it once again paid off. When will I not appreciate a country album like this? It's a type that's already a really nice listen to just have on in the background, because you don't even need to pay attention to it for the songwriting to hit. And maybe it's because of the simplicity in the sound that I'm able to enjoy this so much. It's clear that Rustin Kelly is one of the best in his style, And what that means is that even someone oblivious to the talent will still find some enjoyment. So maybe you'll like this album way more than me, but you definitely won't like it less.
At the cross and the gods relay, there's no hands left to.
Wow, this album is disgusting. It's vile, and yet it's addicting. You want more of it. That's what this album wants to represent, the dark side of horniness found in gay nightclubs, where in the moment the overwhelming ecstasy is fast-paced, heavy, and livid before it's all over, and you have that moment of reflection as you finally see the sun in the morning. It's amazing how this album brings you along such a journey with the industrial and noise elements forcing you to dance, and it certainly might be one you enjoy more than you want to admit. Hey, that album title clearly steals ideas from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Get them out of here. But seriously, this is some of the most fun metal of 2023, and it's not hard to see why. With all the demonic themes in the genre, it's a little surprising to me how rarely I find acts that play into those themes in a less serious way. If you actually want to bring me before the devil himself, good luck with that, but the riffs on this album go so hard in such a playful way that maybe they do make me imagine as if I've become a demon myself in Minecraft. Stupid reason to become one of the best albums of the year, but if it works, it works.
But you're not haunted, you just miss everything. You're not.
For an album that emotionally sounds like it's trembling and about to collapse at any second, it's incredible how insanely solid this is, as if it were destined to sound great. The vocals were born to punch you right in the gut. They present some utterly crushing passion and emotion in a way that I've never seen before. In fact, every part of this record and this band is soul crushing. I'm not sure if there's anything else I can say. And if you want another artist who was practically born for the genre they're in, it would be Lori McKenna. And I don't say that because her voice has the perfect amount of twang for country. Somehow, she always has this fantastic production that can fit every mood there is. This listen is super easy on the ears, and if you're willing to appreciate something that's simply high-grade material, then this is the one for you. If there was one album I've heard this year that truly encapsulates craziness, it would be this one. You cannot put whatever this thing is into words. You have to hear it for yourself. It's wild to the point where I'm actually scared to continue on. It's not scary, but people say that humans are afraid of the unknown, and whatever this free improvisation, avant-garde jazz, sludge metal fusion is, it's not normal. When is this guy gonna make it big? Sure, album of the year hopped on board, but we can go much higher, right? It's amazing how much he does with his music. The jazzy hip-hop production is top-notch. Hearing any song from him for the first time is an experience you'll never forget. And he's got some of the best hooks in the game. He could easily create these bangers and be done, but no, he takes a chance to present his incredible songwriting and introspection as well. Listening to this album is like watching a full movie because McKinley Dixon is such a compelling rapper, and the instrumentation beneath him is equivalent to all the visuals of a film. This is practically perfect hip-hop. Why isn't he bigger? So here's a question. In louder genres of music, at what point does it become acceptable to blow your ears off? How enjoyable does the music have to be for the cost of the pain to be equally rewarded? And in 2023, there's only one right answer for me. 100 gecs is where it becomes justifiable. This is what pop is really about, right? It's easy to digest stuff that's only there to have fun. So why stop at a point where it's catchy but not much else? 100 gecs are in no way the stuff you hear on the radios. They do everything in their power to create experiences truly memorable and engaging. And man, is this record fun. It's banger after banger. Not even just bangers, they're like explosioners. Way bigger than just bangs. If you remember how much pop music I have to listen to, you know, the mainstream series on the main channel, you probably understand why I like this so much, right? So you have incredible rapping talent, incredible production, and incredible lyricism and songwriting. Now where do you go from there? Well, the answer is nowhere, because Aesop Rock simply never gets old. My biggest gripe with Billy Woods is that as compelling and talented as he is, he's all about lyrical analysis, but Aesop Rock brings along his great sense of humor and fantastically unique beats that are always a great time listening to. It's for that reason why I enjoy this album and all the other hip-hop albums on this list so much. Given attention, the themes are thought-provoking and introspective, but even for casual listening, this is pure greatness.
A cold shoulder echoes in time, you begging me to stay till the sun rose.
If you've been keeping up with the mainstream series, there should be no surprise that this is here. Zach Bryan is one of the most charismatic singer-songwriters of the moment, putting so much natural passion and talent into every single performance. And whether the instrumentation is stunning or bare bone, the best thing about him is how his one-liners hit you like a truck. The songwriting across his releases is top notch, especially for me, who doesn't like to dissect lyrics too deeply, because even on the surface, the stuff he sings is absolutely devastating. Tighten up the tracklist a bit more and you have a top 5 record of the year. But Zach Bryan can put together an excellent song in his sleep, and this album has no excess of those. Him hitting number 1 was surprising at first, but let's be honest, he had it coming. So what happens if you take any of the amazing albums on this list and then condense all the ideas found in that album into a succinct 4-track EP? Well, you'd get something along the lines of this record, which is an incredible genre fusion of art rock and jazz that utilizes its suspense to create a super devastating experience. It's aggressive and chaotic at its biggest moments, and bone-chillingly ominous at its most subtle. Album of the year has been all over this record this year, and it deserves it because this is killer.
I'm never not, I'm hot, I'm never not, I'm hot.
Here is where we get what might be 2023's quintessential hip-hop release, and it's built upon the magic of a debut album where Group Therapy clearly have the creativity for an entire career, so it's difficult to decide how to start. So of course they cram everything into one record, and the outcome has originality around every corner. And it's not a mess either. In fact, it flows amazingly well across every idea and experimentation that hits as many different corners of hip-hop and R&B as possible. For some reason, it's like I've seen nearly nobody talking about this album, which is disappointing because it's one of the most dynamic and versatile releases of the year. There's not a single moment here where I'm not impressed.
And I can't drink the river to dry the land.
Man, at this point I'm just giving up pretending I actually know what I'm saying. This is a great folk record, one of the best of the year. Gabe Lee does everything very well. My first listen, I actually just left this on loop because I never got tired of it. Yeah, short review, I actually have nothing good to say about it. Let's just enter the top 10 already. Woo! Yay, top 10. For many, the experimental hip-hop album of the year was obviously Scaring the Hoes, but for me it was Algiers with Shook, because not only does it do what it does just as well, but expands into other genres with just as much force and compatibility, and that's all it needs to get pushed over the edge for me. The album is a much harder listen for sure, because the whole point of this is to keep you on your toes, never ready for what's about to happen next. Despite that, the flow is incredible, passing through unusual interludes, genre fusions with punk, rock, and jazz, and tons of great features, while never dipping in quality for even a moment and never leaving you confused either. It's a crazy album and a crazy listen, but after it's all done, I look back and realize just how impressively weaved together the ideas and themes of it all are. So no, I was not expecting it, but this is my favorite hip-hop album of the year. This album has given me a new perspective on Kesha's music, and it's so annoying that this faux persona ever even existed in my mind. On the surface, she's just a pop star who made that fun TikTok song that was huge back in 2010, but hearing this album, it's like that huge moment of fame was hiding all her true feelings and problems for all this time, and she explores these emotions immaculately effectively in her music. This album is so powerful that it really does feel like I'm watching how her life unfolds firsthand. And yes, looking at the hooks, song structures, and production, there are tons of remnants from the pop star Kesha once was, but they're used to play into a different side of her, with the emotions boiling and eventually bursting, and at some points feeling like a genuine cry for help. I need to catch up on some lore here, because this already is one of my favorite albums of the year, and me leaving behind my ignorance will hopefully open my eyes even farther.
Tied to the old ways of all my kin, preaching the word down in the mines.
I'm so disappointed in myself for being late to the party with this guy, because this album is like a dream come true for a pop fan. It's all contemporary country and these are all super easy listens, but every single track is so heartfelt, passionate, and well built that there is not a single weak spot on a track list of over 70 minutes. And there's not much else to analyze outside of that, because Charles Wesley Godwin connects on a rather personal level. He's incredibly transparent in his lyrical topics, discussing simple family problems and troubles, but it's not like he's directly reeling you in. It's more like it's so friendly that you want to sit down next to him by the fireplace or out on the front porch. The amount of enjoyment I got out of this album certainly took me by surprise, but now I think it's a safe bet for one of the best albums of 2023.
Ways will catch you, life will catch you, love will catch you, spirit gon' catch you, yeah. Faith will catch you, friends will catch you, time will catch you, flash will catch you.
Oh, this guy has got to be overrated, right? There's no way that he truly is the R&B god like people make him out to be, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking before listening to this, and well, I was evidently dead wrong. I've been having trouble getting into R&B outside of The Weeknd, but Sampha just shined a new light onto me, a light coming from the heavens. He must be an actual angel, because everything on this record is beautiful. Listening to this is like entering a trance, where you're sent on a journey of pure bliss and there's nothing you need to do except enjoy the ride. I shouldn't even like this, because there's no immediate punch or striking hooks, but there's nothing I can do. It pulls you in and you never want to let go. The piano work is hypnotizing, the percussion is dazzling, and the vocals are phenomenal. Looking back, I guess I can understand why I was a little skeptical at first, but everything is so stunning that I will never make that mistake again. So apparently this one doesn't need much brain power to listen to and enjoy. I actually think that works in the album's favor because nothing about this is meant to be deep. It's straightforward midlife crisis venting, so clear-cut and frank that it's super easy to digest and therefore super relatable. He unleashes all of his anxiety in such a blunt way that it's almost like the power from that alone offshoots into what's possibly the catchiest album of the year. But only almost, because that's luckily not the case at all. This is a really well-made power pop album with some very punchy punk production, and the hooks all across the record are way too effective. It's a little chaotic, but not to scare you away, just to give you that little edge to make it something truly worth returning to. Because how can I not enjoy this when it's such a blast? I can summarize everything I enjoy about this record in one short sentence. It's black metal with synth. Alright, I can go a little deeper than that. Synths, when used properly, are some of the most beautiful sounds ever heard by mankind, and the way they're integrated here creates the most visceral and jaw-dropping experiences of any metal project this year. It's already amazing how insanely powerful and lively this album is for black metal, completely escaping the muddy mixing barrier that defeats so many other projects of the same genre. But every time the synths appear, it's perfect. These electronic elements amplify the already fantastic atmospheres tenfold. A passive effect as they play alongside the pummeling drums, some legendary riffs, and the awesome screams. But the best moments are otherworldly in the fullest sense of the word. It's like you're floating in space, witnessing the vibrant colors coming from every corner of the universe all at once. God, what an experience this is. Well, didn't Paranol start off 2023 with a bang? He completely knocks you off your feet, taking you on the most beautiful winter walk of your life. Everything is so tranquil, so peaceful. You're enveloped in the sun's warmth. You pass through the shadow of one branchless tree after another. You can hear your every breath, your every footstep, until you're lifted and your mind is swept away and you realize it's not snow around you, but glitter. You're floating. The colors of the rainbow are dispersed in every direction around you. Everything in sight becomes a blur. You remember the magic you felt on the ground, but that magic is left behind and fades away as you ascend past it into another state, one of pure bliss. Your brain feels overwhelmed, but you can let go of all your thoughts. You're absorbed by every verse, every melody, every emotion. How could you possibly get better than this? Would be a valid question if the answer wasn't already so obvious. Alright, I had to spice things up with that last review because Paranol is here twice in a row. But you better believe me when I say he might be the best act in shoegaze and possibly even dream rock, because his masterclass maximalist production is some of the most spellbinding I've ever heard. And then when you take this concoction of uncontaminated beauty to the live stage, where there's no longer anything in the way between the audience and the absolute explosions of emotion, well, you can't get too much better at this point. You can just hop into it because you just sit back, relax, and the majestic instrumentation combining with the tremendously passionate and alluring vocals to create the most staggeringly reverent and entrancing album you'll hear all year will sweep you away. You may have noticed the album hogging Album of the Year spot for highest rated album of 2023. and it's rightfully so because the competition is close to none.
She used to wake me up with coffee every morning, and I'd hear her homemade house shoes slide across the floor.
You know what's the biggest compliment I want to give to this album? Is that I'm genuinely rendered speechless by how good it is. And I mean it when I say everything about this is perfect. Because as the year went on, I listened to this again and again, and it didn't matter how much prying apart and nitpicking I did, because this has always been the most substantial, versatile, and all-around quintessential country album I've heard in a long time. Every single song here has the meat of a full record because the world building is phenomenally effective, from the powerfully nuanced instrumentation to the killer songwriting, and that's pushed even farther when every hook is just as much of an emotional strike as the last. And honestly, the timing of this release couldn't be better because the unexpected rise in the influence of country music that began in 2022 reached amazing and sometimes even dangerous peaks in 2023, to the point where country music has become the most exciting thing in the mainstream. And I needed a monster album that could take control of everything as a representative of the genre that reflects all of its best qualities, and this is where we get it. Weather Vanes by Jason Isbell and the 400 unit is terrific and possibly an all-time great. But for me, the year had something even better. And here we have it, folks. This is the album from the anime series that instantly became one of my all-time favorites. The anime series that unexpectedly sent my YouTube career to heights it hadn't ever seen. This is the album that sent me on a journey into the world of J-Rock, where I quickly realized that it wasn't the genre that I really enjoyed, just this album specifically. This is the album that was always my go-to choice when I needed a way to pass time or to distract my ears. This is the album that opened my eyes to the importance of counter melody. How does that even happen? I'm in concert band. And finally, this is the album that was my biggest motivation for continuing to listen to album after album all year, just so I could ridicule all of them by saying this one is better. Every riff here is legendary, no questions asked. Every hook here is legendary, no questions asked. At any given moment this past year, I could have chosen a different song on this album as the best thing I've ever heard. That's how insanely solid the tracklist is. Anytime I hear anything from this album, I'm instantly put into an amazing mood. That's how infectious the energy is. And, of course, you might think this review and placement is all a huge joke because it's truly unbelievable how much I like this, but there's no need for me to prove it or defend myself because I know how much this record means to me personally, and at the end of the day, or at the end of any day, Kesoku Band has the best album of 2023. Thanks for watching.